Okay.
Okay. So this is a master's level program in your
Yep.
criminal justice department.
Correction seminar. Yep. For PSG.
Okay. This is great. Well, the first thing I want to ask is, what did you all think of the book? What did you think of the chapter? What crossed your mind? What resonates with you? Sure.
I loved how I think intimate it was, or how personable it was in comparison to the majority of other literature that we've gotten to, eat so far.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to highlight, I think, how individual and dynamic each person's experience is, in an effort to avoid kind of generalizing or cataloging people in a specific manner.
Mm, that's great. Well, I can give you a little bit of background information on the book that you probably don't know. So Dr. Stanley Andris, I didn't even know who he was until about maybe 6 months before I released from Coffee Creek. And the director of the HEP program from Portland State University, Deb Arthur, she came in and said, "Hey, what did you even want to be when you grew up?" And I was so embarrassed to tell her, and ashamed actually, to tell her that I wanted to be a doctor. And she said, "Why did you want to be a doctor?" And I said, "Because I wanted to save people's lives." And I felt so ashamed that here I am standing there in prison, you know what I mean? Telling this woman that I wanted to be a doctor. And she said, "I know somebody." I said, "You do?" She said, "Yeah, I'm going to bring you something." So she brought me his first book, which is From Prison Cells to PhD. So if you're curious about that story, it's amazing. So she brought it to me and I started to read it. And the more I read it, the deeper I got into his life story and about how he uh, came to be. And here we have a man with criminal convictions out of uh, Missouri, out of St. Louis, and they called him like a career criminal, right? A drug kingpin. They wanted to put him away for life. The DA said he was never going to be anything, never going to amount to anything, you know what I mean? And just wanted to throw him away. Well, they ended up giving him a 10-year sentence, which we all get good time, but he served his time. And when he got out, he found himself on an educational journey because his dad died from diabetes. And I think it really broke him. It really did something to him. So he really started doing research, diabetic research. And because I think he's on a mission, you know what I mean, to find a cure for diabetes so that other people don't suffer like this. However, he's always been in the right place at the right time, right? And he's met the right people. He found himself into medical school. Well, uh, that story right there, it did something to me. It like made my heart pitter patter, which after 10 years in prison, not a lot of things do that. Uh, and I realized that people with convictions can be a doctor. He has a PhD. They will not let him be an MD because of criminal convictions. We're hoping to change the licensure in the future. Um, but he is an endocrinologist scientist that teaches at a medical school. So he cranks out doctors every day, but they won't let him be one. So he teaches at Johns Hopkins. He sits on the board at Howard. He teaches at Georgetown. There's a lot of things that he does, but he also started a program, P2P, or From Prison Cells to PhD, right? And prison cells to PhD, that changed my life. So I realized I could go to grad school. I realized that he had the key to the knowledge that I needed or wanted. All I wanted to know is, how did he do this? The only thing that I wanted out of life is to have a good career with insurance and a 401k, because I'm 47 now, but I got out when I was 43. And he has the ability to help other people, right? And that's all I've ever wanted. And so I told my wife, I said, I need to find this guy when I get out. And she said, okay. Well, she found him for me the first week that we were out. And she started talking to him and she was like, hey, she found him on a Hoover app because the HEP director, Deb, she signed us up for INCHEP, which is the National Conference for Higher Ed in Prison. And Rachel found him on a Hoover app and started talking to him. And then after that, I started chasing him around the nation. I got on every single meet. I got on LinkedIn. I got on every single meeting. I followed all his social media. You know what I mean? Everywhere that he was going to make an appearance, I was, trying to get there. I actually put myself in debt trying to get to DC to find this guy, right? To run into this guy. And I did that for a few years and then he finally told me, he said, why don't you just take my scholars program? And I was like, scholars program? He said, yeah, prison of professionals. I have a scholars program. I said, okay. So I said, am I going to get to see you? And he said, oh yeah, all the time. So I signed up and I got in there and in prison of professionals changed my life. Not only was I able to find out how he did what he did, right? Um, because I said I just need to know what job positions or what positions these people held back east, and I'm going to find those people here because I'm going to do the same thing. And and then maybe we'll bridge the gap between the east and west, right? And so after I graduated, I went on to become a mentor, a volunteer, a tutor, a coach, basically everything. I showed up to every single meeting, even after I graduated the cohort. I never quit. I like scheduled my life around it. And it has paid off tenfold. Like the networking itself and the social capital that I have gained through this program, through him, through everybody that's been involved in this, um, is it's worth more money than I could ever accrue in my life. So, that's the little story about the background of this book. And then right before this, like a year before this book came out, so I guess it would have been 2024, the end of 2024, he called me on the phone. He said, hey, I don't see your application. And I was like, what? He said, I don't see your application. And I said, for what? He said, my book. And I was like, I never saw a link. I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, oh man. He's like, fill this out. So I filled it out. And the next day, I got something that said, you've been selected, you know what I mean, to submit your writing for this book, your chapter for this book. And I was like, great, what are we doing? What's it about? And he's like, well, people have approached me uh, and asked me to tell the story about P2P. And I said, why don't I let P2P tell the story about P2P? That's why there's so many different people in this book. And that's why all the chapters are different. We basically cover an array, like a whole entire array of different people, different walks of life, different ways we got to prison, and what we're doing now. It's all different people from all around the nation, right? We have somebody in this book that's still incarcerated. We have somebody in this book that walked off death row 17 years ago. He's the only man I've ever been able to tangibly put my arms around that has walked off death row. That is unheard of. Unheard of. You don't get to do that every day. And so in my entire life, I've never done that. And I've never seen anybody walk off death row. So that's pretty important to me. And he's my direct supervisor now. And I couldn't have had a better one. And Stan is always at my disposal. Any question I have, anything I ever need. And he's never left me hanging. Even though he's on the East Coast, he's never left me hanging out here. So what I can tell you is that throughout your journey in this you know your criminal justice pathway, what is it that you guys want to be? What is your reasoning for taking this master's program? Anybody want to tell me?
A big question. It's a good question.
Yeah, good.
I really want to get into politics at some point because I feel like that's where I can make the most amount of change. And I see people struggling. We talk about people struggling every single day, and we
Yeah.
talk about the solutions to these things and how they're kind of pretty easy. And I want to come in and start trying to help implement these solutions so that people can stop struggling.
Keep my name and look for me on social media, connect with me because that's what I do now. I focus on a lot of policy changes and we have a program, you know what I mean? We have things like Unlock Higher Ed, which is all focused around policy. I'm part of the Ed Trust Fellowship, which is out of DC. I have one position, one out of eight, right? There's only 8 slots open every year for Ed Trust, and I got one. And so it's like they asked me what I wanted to work on, and I have the world at my disposal now, and now I don't know what to focus on because I'm like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, but where am I going to make the biggest impact? But I just want to ask, like, the reason I'm asking is because does anybody want to be a PO? Does anybody want to go into corrections? Or are you guys more on the humanitarian side? More on the humanitarian side?
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey says, here you go, unlockhighered.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You can join any meetings, you know what I mean? And get into Unlock Higher Ed and see what it's all about. We have a lot of people from around the nation. We always have guest speakers from big institutions and big places that I can't wait to work with in the future. But I had a great PO when I got out. I'm so lucky. Like, I know you guys read my chapter, and I know you guys read I came from a whole life of domestic violence, right? And especially the relationship that I left to get to prison. Um, it was when I said just a little snippet about being hunted, with a bounty on my head and things like that. That was real. And it got to the point where, you know what I mean? Prison was my best option, actually. I'm grateful I went to prison because it gave me the ability to separate myself from him long enough for him to move on and go somewhere else and forget that I even exist. And not only that, when I was getting ready to get out, I said, I'm not going back to Klamath Falls. Are you kidding me? I said, oh yeah, Mickey says, can you guys read the chats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
see it.
good. Okay, so I said, I'm not going back to Klamath Falls. I said, if you guys let me out and try to send me back to Klamath, I'm going to come out here to this bus stop and I'm going to sit. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not going back. So you might as well just help me figure out a plan to stay somewhere else because I'm not going back. Because somebody's going to end up dead, right? It's either going to be me or him, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. So it's just best that I just stay away from there, even though I was born and raised there. There's nothing there for me anymore. My family's not there. So so I had a great PO right here in Clackamas County, and she was so amazing and helpful. And like at the 4th month, she kicked me to low supervision. She's like, I don't even need to supervise you guys. She came down to PSU and I said, my office is bigger than yours. She said, I think I need to come back to school here. And but she helped us a lot and believed in us, and she didn't like press us too much or sweat us too much or show up at our jobs, you know what I mean, fully geared up and stuff, scaring everybody around us, which most of the time that's what POs do. Um, she's just a very good woman. And then finally it got to the point where she started calling me to help her clients. She's like, can you help these people get into school? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because when we got out, we were we got out with we had AmeriCorps positions thanks to Deb. And so that meant a little bit of income, right? We didn't have to worry too much about trying to find some income or housing like that, or we could pay for our own housing. Well, we were meant to build a program on Portland State campus like that modeled Project Rebound out of California. So San Francisco State Project Rebound, we created a relationship with them, and hmm, they came up here to a symposium that we had. We invited Larry Miller. He's the Nike CEO that ran the Air Jordan brand, right? He's a convicted felon. He has criminal charges. He has criminal convictions from when he was like 14, um, for murder. And he was able to become the president of the Trailblazers. and the Nike CEO, and look what he does now. He's got MJ on speed dial. Look what he does. And he lives here in Portland. So, uh, that was amazing. To meet him, have pictures with him and things like that. I really hope to work with him in the future, get some double book signings going in Portland since we all live here. And I don't know, he's on a fair chance to advance mission right now, like fair chance employment, for people with convictions. He's trying to give us visibility as people with barriers or convictions because little do you know, we face like tens of thousands of barriers, a lot more barriers than the average person without convictions face every single day. The collateral consequences that we suffer after being convicted, they never go away. They're so damaging. For my entire life, they're damaging. I can't, I cannot get anybody to look past them, right? Unless you can get your record expunged, which I have a few felonies that can't be expunged apparently in Oregon, which I'm trying to fight that. I'll probably go back on an SB 819 and see what I can do, plead my case to Klamath County. But Klamath County doesn't want any part of me. They don't want me there. They don't want any part of anything. That's where I've been in trouble. That's where I have been in the most trouble in my life. Like in jail, they used to leave the light on for me with a mint on my pillow, like Motel 6, with my own cell with my name on it. They knew exactly. Every time I come to jail, they just put me through booking right away and send me to the back because I'm not getting out for a while. It's a very that's not a very proud moment, you know what I mean? To think back on that's the way people remember me. But prison was the best thing that ever happened to me. I met my wife, um, and she is the flip side of my coin. She's very calm and quiet and comforting, and I'm very outgoing and very like, let's do this and whatever. And uh, she keeps me grounded. So yes, we're still together. We luckily found a house like 6 months after we got out because she has arson charges. She has arson one. They will not let her live in a multifamily dwelling like an apartment building or anything. They will not let her live there. You know what? She accidentally burned down a shopping cart. That's it. And apparently it was some homeless guy's dwelling. And she owes $6,000 in restitution for a stolen shopping cart full of stolen property with a guy that says that that was his dwelling in Multnomah County. So she got railroaded on that one. And she got 70 months, a measure 11. So that can't be expunged. So those are the types of things that we need to change. We need to abolish measure 11 in Oregon, which isn't going to happen until like well, we have one guy, you know what I mean, that created measure 11 and pushed it through in the 90s. So until he's out of the way and out of office or whatever, we're not going to be able to change anybody's mind because money talks. And so until like mass incarceration touches these people's lives in a way that's so harmful and detrimental to them that they want things to change, it's not going to change. So right now we have a bunch of old timers in the legislature and they just kind of, they're so far disconnected from the real world with their boots on the ground, right? We're the ones with our boots on the ground and they're the ones far disconnected from what it is we see and do every day. But I was reading a little bit in my chapter because I periodically I have to look back and like what exactly did I write again? I wrote it all in one night. Like it was like Halloween night. And what's funny is what I wanted to tell you is so I wrote it Halloween night, right, and submitted it. And it came back with just a couple of little things that I was like, nope, that needs to change because they misunderstood what I was trying to say. But all in all, it all went through. And then in December, just a couple months later, I got my dad back, the one that adopted me. Um, we're not estranged anymore. And
Great.
he got sick and was in the hospital. My sister called me and said, I need you to go to the hospital right now and find out what's going on. Dad drove himself to the hospital. And I was like, oh my God, if he drove himself to the hospital, it's bad. So I got there and he had to have a toe amputated because he had an infection, but he doesn't have any health problems. He's an old college football player. He doesn't have any health problems. He's so healthy. And I was like, how did this even happen? But it didn't matter to me. I'm so grateful he got sick. I'm really grateful because I got to go stay there, take care of him because I was the only one here, the closest one here, you know? It was amazing. And so I have my dad back and you know, everything that I do now, like I ordered him my diploma. I was like, oh no, my parents are getting a copy of my diploma. You know, they've never seen me walk out of anything but prison or jail. And so I'm the black sheep and the shining star all in one day. I don't know. It feels really strange to do that.
I bet.
And my mom is still alive, which I didn't really tell you too much about that in my chapter, but she got cancer right when I went in, you know, and it terrorized me. Like literally, mentally terrorized me. I lived in the chapel. I went to the chapel. I went to every denomination, every service that there was. I never went back to my cell until I had to. I had everybody praying for my mom, like 20,000 people saying my mom's name at the same time because somebody's God was going to hear me. And she's still alive. And I just wanted her to see me graduate or see me do something good. And my parents don't even understand what it is I really do. They're like, "How do you get paid? Like what do you really do, Lisa?" And so I try to tell them and they're like, it blows their mind, right? My mom's in a small coastal town. She's like, please don't talk about prison everywhere we go. And I was like, why? I was like, it's a real thing. Like, this is me. This is my life. I'm not going to water myself down for you or anybody else. I'm sorry. I'm the same person in front of funders as I am sitting in front of you today. I am the same person in every context, everywhere we go, with a mouth like this, everywhere we go, because even to the legislature, because you know what? They need to see real people. They need to hear real people and how it affects real people. Like we have a private landlord, thank God, that we found a place to live because of this. But we have a private landlord and he was like, you know, because we were doing so many things, so many positive things that he was like, just get renter's insurance. I don't care. We're like, okay, you know, that was amazing. And so right now I'm fighting with the Oregon Department of Corrections because OSP called me and told me that they weren't allowed to celebrate Juneteenth, and I flipped my lid. And I have connections everywhere to the governor's office, to the corrections ombuds, to the ACLU, to a bunch of attorneys. Oh, yeah, I emailed all of them. A few senators, a representative. I emailed all of them. Next thing you know, I'm getting emails back. Oh, even the director of DOC. And I'm getting emails back like, okay, well, you're invited to Juneteenth. You know, there's only 20 slots open. And I was like, great, thanks. And they sent me a LEDS form. Then they denied me. So I sent him back an email and I said, I feel like this is retaliation, you know? And sent it to the governor's office and to the attorneys and to the ACLU and to everybody else. This is retaliation because uh OSP is its own entity. So don't pull your OARs and no, don't pull any of your policy stuff, you know, that I can't come in there because you let other people come in there. You just don't want me to come in there because I made it possible for these guys to have a celebration. And I support Uhuru Sasa in there. I do a lot of projects with them with Black Studies. Um, Walida and well, Lisa Bates is on sabbatical, but Walida is amazing, amazing woman. Um, the guys at OSP actually wrote poetry and then wanted us to go out and take pictures in Northeast Portland of all the places that they told us that they wanted. They're like, okay, go stand on this street corner and then look to the left, and it's that house right there with the wraparound porch. Please take a picture of that. It's like, I'm gonna get shot. You want me to go over here and take these pictures in the hood? Okay. I took my homie Kenny with me. I was like, Kenny, come on, let's go. You know, you get out, take the picture. But no, we took the pictures and we submitted them and they approved them and we put them all together and the Urban League published a book. It's called Memory in Black Portland. Memory in
Okay.
Place in Black Portland. Anyways, it's pretty cool. And then we had an event. We got to read the poetry to the people's family members, and I cried the entire time. I couldn't even get it out of my throat because I don't care. I do not like injustices. I am a human justice fanatic. I don't like injustices, and if I see one, that's the direction that I go, you know? But we've had a lot of good things come out of this book, a lot of good relationships. These people are my family members now. I don't look at them like just somebody that I know. I look at them like somebody I can call, and nobody will understand the urgency or the sense of urgency or emergency like somebody else that has the same barriers as you. So it's like, I have we lost our jobs when Trump took office because he cut the AmeriCorps funding, and overnight my wife and I lost our income, and I've freaked out. So I called Stan. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm going to get stuck in a minimum wage job for like 60 to 90 hours a week, and I'm not going to be able to do the things I love. And the things I love are all of these meetings, all of the policy work. You know what I mean? Um, Basically, we function as Project Rebound. We took Project Rebound back from PSU. And I can say that because well, we legally took it back from them because uh, I told you a little bit about it in the book. I don't like to be tokenized, and I did not know anything about tokenizing until it happened. And it might not have been intended, and it might have been intended. I don't know. But the point is that we were tokenized, and for whatever situation, and the funding that came was supposed to trickle down to benefit our students, and it never did. So Project Rebound, they have like tuition remission, uh, book stipends every term, bus passes, emergency food cards, backpacks, things like that. Like it was the capstone students that were putting together backpacks for incarcerated or formerly incarcerated people coming out, right? Incarcerated people releasing. Um, the capstone students were the ones fundraising and putting those backpacks together when it should have been Project Rebound money. They received legislative money, and that money didn't trickle down either. So the foundation absorbed it. So I got mad and I divorced PSU, even though I graduated from there. So I divorced him because it was really nobody's intention that all this happened. But in an institution setting, things happen, right? Money gets absorbed somehow. It goes somewhere. I don't know. But it didn't come to us. And it was really sad when people would get out and I couldn't even offer them anything to drink, and I had to pull the change out of my pocket to take them to the pop machine and get them something to drink. That's ridiculous. So those are the kinds of things that I don't like and I won't participate in or stand for. And I had Project Rebound in San Francisco divorce PSU also and take their name back. So I don't like I don't like people being used. And like I said, it was not one specific person. It was like the whole situation or scenario. So uh that stuff is real, and I really just didn't know how to deal with it, and I guess a lot of institutions and entities function like that, tokenizing incarcerated people because of their lived experience. So I don't know. I don't really I don't really put myself in those situations anymore. But Ed Trust, I went to InChep in New Orleans last year, and they invited me into an Ed Trust. It was an invite only room because I wanted it so bad. And and William Freeman, who is amazing, man, amazing, um, force to be reckoned with, really. Uh, got me in that room, and everything that him and Sierra Hart said really ignited a fire in me. And I'm giving you guys these people's names so that when you look them up, You can search them and find them, you know. They ignited a different fire in me that made me realize I can organize people. The power of the people, right? These kids nowadays, they don't even know how to vote. They don't even know what to vote for. They don't even want to vote, right? They think everything's rigged and that it just does no good and whatever else, you know? But locally, I don't really think it's rigged so much because locally you can vote and it really makes a difference, right? And so uh William basically made me believe more in myself that I can organize people and get things done. And I came back, and for a whole year, Ed Trust watched me from afar. And then when I sent my application in and I got it, I couldn't believe it. And then I felt like an imposter. I find myself in situations where I feel like an imposter. And that's not like me because I can fit in anywhere. And most of the time, I don't even like I can sit down at a table with people wearing $5,000 dresses and sit down and chop it up with them with all these tattoos on my face and not miss a beat, you know, not even think nothing of it. But when I got to Ed Trust, I felt like an imposter because I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do now because I'm surrounded by these people in DC and you feel the power, right? You literally feel the power. Like I'm so close to the power, I feel like I'm gonna get zapped at any time. And so it's just life changing and life altering and then I met other Ed Trust from around the nation, other Ed Trust people and man, it's on and cracking. So really right now we're focusing on like what the Pell Grant things are going to do, like everything that Trump has been signing, all of his executive orders and changing the grad loans and putting caps on things and Pell Grants, and now they're moving more towards like workforce Pell, you know. I don't know how that's going to pan out, but they focus on education and how to make education more accessible, you know, and equitable. Um, there are a lot of factors involved, like school to prison pipeline. Like they say that by the third grade, they can tell you whether or not that child is going to go to prison. I don't like that because I think that you're basically making this child a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You say that about that kid and you tell them that, and they're going to be that, you know? And so I think literacy is a real thing, and lack of literacy is a real thing, and lack of financial literacy is a real thing. Like, I'm 47, I thought I knew how to do everything out here, and I didn't. When I got out, I didn't even know how to order food. I walked into Taco Bell and stood there for 20 minutes trying to get somebody to pay attention to me. And I kept looking at Rachel and I was so embarrassed because I was like, hell are they not coming to see what the hell I want, right? And she's like, I don't know. We kept trying to like, hey. And the ladies are like looking at us like, hey, but they're not coming to talk to us, right? And I was like, what the hell? And oh yeah. And some guy walks in and says, hey, are you in line? And I was like, well, I keep trying to get these people's attention, but they're not paying attention. He goes, oh no, you have to order right here on this menu. I was like, oh my God. I was so embarrassed. I said I didn't know that. So when I went over there to order my food on the tablet, right? Then they wanted a card. And I was like, I don't have a card. What am I gonna do? Like I still have to pay in cash at the cash register. So how am I gonna get this lady to come and take my money? Oh God, it was horrible. Really horrible. And life was so fast and I got car sick because I hadn't, you know, motion sick from not moving for 10 years like that. And it was just it was bad. And there's a lot of things that we didn't know how to do and a lot of things had changed in the world and like I used to be a computer freak and now I got out and I still struggle with a few things, you know, some skills and stuff, computer skills, but I have a minor in business, so you know, I've been trying to work on my skills like that. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is there is a lot of need for people who, like, I'm assuming most of you guys don't have convictions. Even if you do, that's not my business. I don't care. But for those that don't, and you're able to get in rooms where maybe people with convictions are not or can't get in right then and there, it's really lucrative or really important that we have people that represent us that will fight for us, you know, fight for our voices to be heard. Because when we're on the inside, nobody hears us. Nobody listens to us. Nobody cares. You can't get anybody to pick up the phone. You got to call somebody collect and what if it's a switchboard? They're not, how are you going to get a hold of somebody? So it's horrible. It really is. You have no connection to the outside world, and if you're locked up, nobody wants to listen to you anyways. So they think your word is not worth anything and that you're less than, And prison makes you work for slave labor pennies on the dollar while they're making money hand over fist for uh like canteen and commissary, whatever. And the kind of food that they feed people while they're in prison, it's so detrimental to their health, they feed them so many starches that it um a lot of people in there gain a lot of weight and can't lose it, but it's just not healthy. There's not a lot of fresh vegetables or fruit or anything like that. Um, and they don't care. They don't care. They don't care that they're causing health problems. So those kinds of things need to change, At least healthier food for people incarcerated, it'll save the state money.
Sure.
The other thing I want to tell you is it's really, really amazing what the state of Maine is doing right now. So the state of Maine, Randall Liberty, he is the DOC commissioner of Maine, or was. I don't know if he's retired yet or not. I haven't talked to him in about a year. But at one time, he only had 6 incarcerated people making like $60,000 a year. Now he's got 60 making $90,000 a year inside. So what happens is they finish their bachelor's degree and then they get into a master's pathway. Well, they have to have intern hours, right? There are all kinds of places that will hire them and to do research, to do their paralegal stuff, you know what I mean? To like they have all kinds of different job opportunities that they do. Um anyways, so they work on the inside and they have their own laptops and they pay their own internet. You know what I mean? They pay like a portion of their money for internet. But here's the deal. I know it sounds absurd, right? But all of that money really goes back into the economy. They pay all of their cost of incarceration. They pay all their fines, fees, and restitution. They pay their child support right off the top. They get to participate in their family or parenting because now their kids don't feel like they're deadbeat moms or dads, right? They're able to send money home to their families. Their families don't face housing insecurities, um, financial insecurities, food insecurities, things like that. They don't face those things. They pay state and federal taxes just like normal people. You know, all of that money goes right back into the economy, and they have to save 10% of their paycheck into a transition fund so that when they get out, they pay their own transitional housing rent. Here in the state of Oregon, they have $12 million that they waste on these vouchers for transitional housing that doesn't do you any good. Sponsors in Eugene, that's a 90-day program. You get sent there, all they care about is if you have a job. They want you to go take the first job you find and get out. That's it. I don't know anybody that can get their get their ID, right? Because it's kind of hard sometimes to get your ID when you're coming out of prison. You don't have any paperwork to say who you are, except for the prison stuff. And nobody wants to accept your prison ID, even though it's picture and it's state. Like, I don't know what their problem is. But I don't know anybody that can get all their ducks in a row like that, like their ID, get a job or whatever, find somebody that'll rent to them, right, in 90 days. And plus comply with parole and probation and all the appointments and stuff that they set for you. It's a nightmare. It really is. And so the kind of money that is spent on from DOC in Oregon, $12 million. I looked at the amount of money that DHS spends every year just to see what's going on, like through food stamps and medical and things like that, that incarcerated family members, their children are on, they're on state insurance because grandma gets the kids, right? You go to prison or whatever, grandma takes the kids, or your brother or sister takes the kids, or whatever. Well, it's a strain. Everything's a strain. The world is so expensive. And so you're actually causing more harm, but people are not realizing that. They're not seeing that. They're racking up child support so that when they get out, they can't even get their license because it's suspended because they owe so much in child support. Like, how fair is that, right? They used to say you do the crime, you pay the time. That is not true. That is not true. It never goes away. You know? Let us do the time and let it go away. New York has a clean slate act, right? After so many years or whatever, the misdemeanors are wiped. After so many years, the felonies are wiped. And it's not that many years. It's like 5 and 7 or something like that. So it's not that many. And so that's the clean slate act, right?
Mm.
In Colorado, David Carrillo, Carillo, he is an amazing cat. He's also an Ed Trust fellow, but at one time, he was the only incarcerated person teaching as a professor to students on the outside
Wow.
at a university. So, there's been a few innovative changes, like that. Um, and now there's a few more that have been teaching, from the inside because there really is value in it. Um, like the National Prison Debate League, they beat Harvard and they beat MIT, and they didn't have access to the internet. Some of the brightest minds are incarcerated. We're just not tapping into them because the world doesn't see value in people that are incarcerated.
Absolutely.
Barred Prison Boys, yeah, they were part of that National Prison Debate League. But the Barred Prison Initiative, they have a documentary. It's worth watching. And I looked him up, and now I've met him across the nation quite a few times, and I talk to him quite often. And now a few of them are, pretty good friends, and they're doing amazing things. So there are a lot of people in this nation that are fighting for the rights of others, but I don't know what's going to happen in this administration because every day we wake up scared, you know, every day. And
Yeah.
right now I'm looking for grad school. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to stick with PSU, even though I'm a Duck fan. See? Duck fan. Everything I have is the Ducks. Everything. I'm a big um uh, f- I'm a football fanatic. So no, not go Bulls. It's always go MJ, damn it, Mickey. He said go Bulls. No, go Ducks.
Uh,
Anyways, yeah,
Lisa,
so
yeah, no, we really appreciate this. I want to be mindful of your time,
yeah,
but do you do you mind if I open up for questions if anybody's got see if anybody's got questions here?
yeah, go ahead.
You don't have any questions for Lisa? Yeah, good.
What do you think is the most like frequently overlooked part about reentry or aspect of reentry?
Oh my God. The most overlooked aspect of it is truthfully, it's I feel like it starts with housing. The reason I'm saying that is because if you don't have a stable place to lay your head, your life is in chaos and you don't even know what to do, right? Um, if you had stable housing when you got out, it would be easier and the anxiety would would be way less, if you knew that you had some place to lay your head at night, someplace safe that was yours to lay your head at night, and then you could actually work on your mental health, you know what I mean? Make all your doctor's appointments, things like that. The other thing that's overlooked is I can I can tell you that doctors visits are overlooked. What I mean by that is when I got out and I went to the doctor and they're like, "Where's all your medical records?" And I was like I didn't want to tell them, right, that they were in ODOC. And so I said, "Well, I just got out of prison and so they didn't have the last 10 years of my medical records, the doctor out here." And the last one she had was like 2010 or something, and I was like, "Oh God." Um, she started treating me different. Yeah. She started treating me different, and I didn't like that. I didn't like to be treated different. And anything that I said to her, she felt like I was drug seeking. Treated me like I was drug seeking. And that's not fair, first of all. Second of all, I had to find a different doctor. I knew I needed to find a different doctor, and it wasn't until a capstone student told me, uh, why don't you change your insurance to Kaiser? Because at the time I had state insurance. And so I did that. I went to Kaiser, and they have never treated me like that. And they all know I got out of prison. They all know the health problems and physical health problems that it has caused being incarcerated for so long and sleeping on those bunks and whatever. And so Kaiser's never treated me like that or my wife like that. And that was probably the best thing that we ever did, is to find a doctor that that wasn't, I don't know. I don't know what you call those people. I don't know. But I really think that housing is overlooked because you can't tell me, okay, okay, okay. This baby. He gets up here on my lap, wants me to love him. He's my son's cat. But it some people, if they don't have housing, they put them in a shelter when they get out, a homeless shelter, whatever. You put somebody in a shelter, they're gonna go right back out to doing what they know how to do, sell drugs, right? Easy money. They need to pay for a place to, no, no, no. You're not gonna walk up here. Get up there. You're gonna they go right back out on the street and sell drugs, or they go right back out to the same people that they know because their housing is not stable. So that's that's the one thing. And the fact that people are scared when they get out, no matter what they say, right?
Sure,
They don't
absolutely.
feel they don't feel like they fit in. I mean, sometimes I still feel like that I don't fit in. It's kind of hard to wake up some days and be like, no, I have a place in this world, but all of my people, right? My entire accrued family from across the nation, like we tell each other that every single day, that we have a place and we belong here.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
What's an easy change that the state of Oregon specifically could do to make reentry easier for Oregon's people?
Well, you know what? It's a hassle and a bother for them, and they don't even know what the hell they're talking about for reentry. They have all these reentry classes, right? Like this is what you say to your landlord and or your potential landlord, and this is what you say to your potential employer when you apply, and blah 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 blah. No, you need to let people with lived experiences that have nonprofits or reentry programs come into the prison and teach these people and prepare them for when they release. Like, why are you preventing people from coming in to help people coming out, you know? So that's the easiest thing that could happen. Just allow the outreach, that we're all trying to do because we're all trying to reach into those prisons. It's just whoever has the key, you know, is well, right now they're denying me, so
Lisa, can I ask you, were you released to Multnomah County?
no, Clackamas.
Clackamas, okay,
I was released to Red Lodge.
okay.
So Red Lodge is a native transition service, and they had a women's house here. And because I came from a domestic violence situation before I went to prison, and I said I'm not going back. My counselor said, "Well, I know somebody, but I there's only one person that we can um that we can ask or try this with, because for some reason her address was the only one that anybody would approve, right? For changing the county of origin. Because no matter what, when you go to prison, wherever you fall from, you're going back to. Doesn't matter. They don't care. They're going to send you back every single time because there's no other county that wants you up here because they don't want you to be a drain on their economy, right? So if you don't have housing, you don't have a job, you don't have this, you don't have that, you're not going to be able to transfer to another county. You have to have a private address and a reason to be there, or to show that you can take care of yourself or pay your bills, because they don't want any problems. But I had already had a long-term relationship with Red Lodge because they are they come into the prison, they do all the native services, right? They do all of our sweats, they do all of our smudging, they do all of our powwows and things like that, and any of our cultural classes. So when they asked her, Trish Jordan, um, she said, absolutely. And then I came to Red Lodge and it was more like a house, not a transition house. It was more like a home, right? And she kept me so busy I didn't know what to do. I didn't have time to think about anything else. She was like, "Oh no, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this," And I met a lot of legislators, like Representative Tana Sanchez. Well, I used to sweat with her anyways, but uh Tana Sanchez, and then like Anessa Hartman, they're all native, but she was a representative. Um, I've met a lot of good people. They set everything that I was involved in set me up on a path to success. And nobody else gets that in prison. And I feel like that's the issue. They don't have a community of people to come home to. That's why Project Rebound was so important, because Project Rebound provides mentoring. You know what I mean? Like, we've already lived this out here, so we can help you. We can tell you what works and what doesn't work and why it didn't work, because it might work for you if you do something different than I did, but it didn't work for me, right? So those kinds of things, like Project Rebound and P2P, they were my foundational blocks, right? And now I'm just building myself.
So
So,
Rebound, did
huh?
Rebound have, so they had peer mentors that could connect with you while you were still in and helping you transition out?
No, because Project Rebound didn't exist on Portland State University campus until Rachel and I built it.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Gotcha.
And then now it's called Portland State University Rebound. I don't care. They can
Mhm.
they can keep their little rebound name. However, um, Project Rebound, I still function like Project Rebound because um
Oh,
we actually own Project Rebound PNW. So
right. Yeah.
we're the only ones outside the state of California with a legal MOU to use their philosophies and bylaws and
I love it.
um use their name, and I love it too. But we provide mentoring to formerly incarcerated people or justice impacted people or family members of people that are incarcerated. We have a lot
Yeah.
of programming and stuff for people.
I think I was conflating that with Red Lodge. Sorry. So did Red Lodge have any peer mentors?
So Red Lodge, um, so the director of Red Lodge, right? Um, Trish Jordan, she was probably the best mentor ever, right? But obviously there's other natives in the circle, that are clean and sober and on the same mission and that are involved in Red Lodge and volunteer their time and things like that. But the people coming into the prison through Red Lodge or whatever was basically just coming in there for our ceremonies or our services.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa, like I said, I want to be mindful of our time. And I really appreciate you calling in and
Yeah.
providing, this context and more discussion about your story and experiences. Is there anything that you want us to, as we continue to talk about reentry today, after we part, is there anything that you think we should be focused on in our discussions, or something that we should keep on our forebrain, so to speak?
Um, well, a couple of things real quick. P2P has a scholars program, just so you know, so anybody can take that. And you can go on to be a mentor, a tutor, a coach. So if anybody's interested in that, hit me up. Because I'm now a program coordinator for P2P.
Excellent.
And so you know what, if anybody's interested in being a pen pal or anything like that, it's all electronic on a getting out app. You know, you don't have to sit and write like letters because they won't let letters come into the prison anymore. It's all electronic. Um, so if anybody's interested in that, and you don't have to give them any personal information about you or anything like that. And really, it's important because some people just they have nobody, you know? And and then the other thing is we have a NAP program, which is um oh yeah, we have a NAP program, which is a neighborhood access program. It's kind of geared towards an incarcerated person and then their family member on the outside to take a humanities class. Like right now we're taking one on, or I'm in one with my sister, right? My sister is doing it with me even though I'm not incarcerated, but she's the person on the outside that has always supported me, right? So she brings her experiences as the family member of the always incarcerated person, right? And so you get 3 humanities credits for that. So I'm just doing it just to get some humanities. And then what you should just keep on the forefront of your mind is there are conversations that you can have with people to change their mind, you know? Um, if you find you're in a circle or a scenario where there are naysayers or people that you feel aren't seeing through the correct lenses, try to change their mind, you know? Throw it out there. I tell the legislature all the time about the National Prison Debate League. You know what I mean? They beat Harvard and MIT. So what do you have to say about that? Like these people are not worthless, you know?
Yeah.
And so just be mindful of that and try to change their mind. And the other thing is get involved. Get involved with volunteer, civic engagement, get involved. There are a lot of good programs that you can just, it doesn't take much to send a few getting out messages, you know? Doesn't take much, you know, for you to participate in somebody's well-being. You might be the only thing that saves their life, you know, and you don't even know it.
Absolutely.
So, and then for the policy stuff, man, hit me up. Hit me up. I'll hook you up with Unlock Higher Ed and everybody else I know.
All
Yeah,
right.
because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to come for Oregon.
Excellent. I will certainly share the chat. Thank you, Mickey, and these links with the students, and then I'll also share your contact information if that's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything's public about me. I
Yeah.
put everything public online. You know what I mean? I don't even care. I'm pretty much an open book. Like I feel like it's better to be authentic and genuine than it is to be like textbooky and I don't know, like a
Sure.
secretive or fraudulent or something like that. I'm proud of who I am. And you know what? I'm proud that I have convictions. I'm proud that I'm not sheltered. I'm proud that I had these experiences. I'm proud about all the domestic violence. I'm proud, you know what I mean, of where I've come from because I would hate to be anybody else because everything I've been through made me who I am right now.
I appreciate you sharing this and talking with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate you as well. We're going to let you go, and we will continue our conversation. But thanks again.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you again, Chris. I'll sign your book for you.
Excellent. Please do.
I will.
I love it.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again. Bye
All
bye.
right. Bye.